The following program is made possible by a grant from Pan American Life Insurance Company. It's Varsity Quiz Bowl, and today, Chris Strickler, Barry Canton, Hans Jonason, and Scott Zander from St. Martin's Protestant Episcopal School will meet in a battle of quick recall. Mark Lee, Mark Tellis, Tom Naraki, and Kevin Talley from the St. Paul School. The alternate from St. Martin's is Jill DeMont, and the coach, Wita Muller. And the alternate from St. Paul's is Richard Grant, and the coach, Brother Raymond Bulliard. And now, here's our moderator, Mel Levitt.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome once again to Varsity Quiz Bowl. It's our final game of the quarterfinal round, and after this, there'll be only 4 teams left. One of these teams will compete in the semifinals starting next week, St. Paul's and St. Martin's. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce our judge, Dr. Ann Akers. Our scorer is Phyllis Hartley, Associate Director of Records at the University of New Orleans. Our recognizer is Cliff Beal, a student in communications here from the University of New Orleans. I'm sorry, Loyola University. I just transferred you without your permission, Cliff.
Okay, thank you.
Many pardons, many pardons. And with that in mind, let's give him a round of applause. Big pity on the poor announcer. Just call me the registrar for WYES. If you're ready, here we go. Our final quarterfinal match between these two outstanding teams. Here's a face-off, and we're leading now to a lanyap of 30 points. For a quick 10 points, name the 2 finalists of the National Basketball Association.
St. Martin's, Zander.
The Boston Celtics and the Houston Rockets.
How about that? You didn't expect it to be that easy. Thought we'd sneak up on you there with that question. You've got 10 points and a chance at 30 more. I'm going to ask 3 questions after we play the following selection. So listen.
Honeybee feels with jealousy when they see you out with me. I don't blame them, goodness my.
I don't blame them either, baby.
I say you're my honey. I'll suckle
Well,
rock.
hush your mouth.
Win me up.
Okay, now you got a sampling. The song's from the Tony Award-winning Best Musical of 1978, 3 years ago. Now, the first question is this. It is a musical potpourri of blues and jazz. Can you name it?
Ain't Misbehaving.
That's right, for 10 points. Second question, whose music is showcased?
No, that's well.
We need a...
Fats Weller.
Fats Waller is correct. You're going to have to speed up the answers now, or the responses. Going back to the song we played, name the Broadway star who sang the song and also won the Tony that year as Best Featured Actress in the Musical. It's Nell Carter, and you have 2 of the 3. That's 20 points for St. Martin. We have another face-off. We're leading up now to a lanyap of 30 points. There are 2 cloud-like irregular galaxies visible in the southern heavens that are nearest of the external galaxies to the Milky Way. Somebody is...
The Magellanic Clouds.
What is that?
The Magellanic Clouds.
That's correct for 10 points. Very good. We had a breakdown temporarily there on the buzzer, but Canton had obviously rung in. I believe that's the judgment. All right, we have 10 points. Make sure it's all cleared. Okay? All clear? 30 points of lanyap coming up. This is a mystery man question. 3 parts. 30 points if you can answer it on the first clue. 20 points if it takes 2, 10 points if it takes 3. First clue for 30. This man has been in his current public office for the last 7 years and is considered to be an arrogant, clever French politician with aristocratic pretensions.
Giscard d'Estaing.
That's correct. It is Valéry Giscard d'Estaing. You picked up 30 points, St. Martin's. Another face-off teams. We're going for a lanyap now at 20. The French know it as La Manche. It's literal
St. Paul's, Milwaukee.
The English Channel.
You're correct for 10 points. St. Paul's is on the board. Okay, there's the icebreaker for St. Paul's. Now you have a chance at 20 more in 2 parts. For 10 points apiece, answer the following questions about fiction. First, the most famous fictional recreation of the Battle of Borodino is to be found in a novel by Leo Tolstoy. What is its title?
War and Peace.
That's correct. Now for 10 more and a total of 20. A famous recreation of the Battle of Waterloo appears in a novel by Victor Hugo published in 1862. What is its title? Author is Hugo.
Les Miserables.
That's correct. You've got all 20 points, St. Paul's. And you've cut the lead by 40, trailing now 70-30. Here is a face-off, and we're going for a lanyard of 30. For a quick 10, what do we call a question that is asked usually for...
St. Martin's, Xander.
Rhetorical.
That's right, it is. Rhetorical question. Usually asked for a fact, not to elicit an answer. You have a lanyard of 30. For 10 points, who was the first president to make a trip across the Atlantic Ocean while in office? For another 10, where did he go first? First. And for a third 10 points, what was the purpose of that trip?
Grant is the president.
China.
China is where he went.
Right, wrong continent.
To make peace. Oh, well.
Wrong continent, wrong century. You're thinking about another possible trip that never materialized. President Woodrow Wilson was the first, actually. Paris was where he stopped first, and it was the Paris Peace Conference that he went to attend to establish the League of Nations. We'll move on to another face-off. We're going for a lanyard at 20. An important piece in the puzzle of man's evolution has recently been found, apparently, in the form of the first full...
Paloma.
No, that's not the answer we're seeking. St. Paul's. Now, we'll go back over the question again and repeat it in its entirety. No consultation, please. An important piece of the puzzle of man's evolution has recently been found in the form of the first full skull of a Ramapithecus. Ramapithecus, a forerunner of man, believed to have lived 8 to 14 million years ago. For 10 points, in what country was this find made? It must ring for recognition. Anyone?
St. Paul's, Lee.
China.
China is correct. It was. Picked up 10 points. Trailing now 75-40. Here's a lanyard at 20. There are a number of keyboard instruments besides a piano. For 5 points apiece, name the following first. Either of the forerunners of the piano made famous in the compositions of Johann Sebastian Bach. Either one of them.
Harpsichord.
Correct. Or the clavichord would have been correct as well. Number 2, a popular circus instrument fitted with steam whistles.
Calliope.
Correct. For another 5, Lawrence Welk carries his piano with him. What is it that he carries with him?
An accordion.
Right. And finally, the instrument associated most closely with E-Power Biggs.
An organ.
Right. You got them all. 20 points for St. Paul. And it's now a 15-point spread. St. Martin 75, St. Paul 60. Another face-off. We're going for a lanyard at 20. This type of compound is always composed of the same 3 elements, usually in the ratio of 1 to 1.
St. Martin's, Xander.
Organic.
No, I'm afraid that's incorrect. I'll repeat now for St. Paul's. In its entirety, this type of compound is always composed of the same 3 elements, usually in the ratio of 1 to 1. 1 to 1. The 3 elements are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen.
St. Paul's, Tally.
Carbohydrate.
Correct. Carbohydrate. The score is tied. We have a 70-70 score, and you can break it if you pick up either one or the other part of this question. 152 islands comprise our 50th state, one of the United States' most beautiful. For 10 points each, tell me who discovered the Hawaiian Islands and in what century they were discovered. Cook discovered them. Correct. For 10, you've gone ahead.
The 18th century.
And that's correct, and you're ahead by 20. Score now 90-70. Here's another face-off. No, it won't be. The buzzer, of course, has intervened. That means we're about to move into a rapid-fire round in which points can be scored helter-skelter as we move for 2 minutes through the clock toward the end of the first half. Now, you know the rules. Just remember, there's only one answer to a question. Today's rapid-fire has for its theme literature, classics and near classics that you've all read during your English and your humanities discipline. We're pretty sure you've all read these or certainly know about them. If you're ready, here we go with rapid-fire. Number 1. The author of the Divine Comedy.
St. Martin's, Canton.
Dante.
Correct for 10. The town to which the Reeve, the Miller, the Knight, and other Chaucer
St. Martin's,
characters.
Jonathan.
Canterbury.
Correct for 10. And the score is tied in Melville's Moby Dick, the pilot.
St. Martin's, Canton.
Ahab.
No, I'm afraid not. The ship piloted by Captain Ahab. The family name of the central characters in Jane Austen's novel Pride and
St. Martin's, Canton.
Bennett.
Bennett's correct. Pseudonym used by American author Washington Irving.
St. Martin's, Canton.
Knickerbocker.
Correct. Prolific playwright with as many as 520 plays to his credit.
St. Paul's, Taos.
Shakespeare.
No, this was Lope de Vega. Title of a Nathaniel Hawthorne novel obtained from an ancient
St.
Greek
Paul's,
sculptor.
Taos.
The Scarlet Letter.
No, this was The Marble Faun. The author of Breakfast with Champions.
St. Martin's, Canton.
Vonnegut.
That's correct. The author of The King Must Die and the Bull.
St. Martin's, Canton.
Oh, Tennyson.
It's Mary Renault. The protagonist of Tolkien's The Hobbit.
St. Paul's, Naraki.
Bilbo Baggins.
That's right. The author who created the characters, the Knight of Temperance, Pluto's friends, and the setting, the Power of Bliss, or the Bower of Bliss, I should say. Edmund Spencer was his name. J.D. Salinger wrote Franny and Zooey.
St. Paul's, Naraki.
Glass.
The Catcher in the Rye was his most important novel I was about to have. Flying Island visited by Gulliver and
St.
his
Martin's,
travelers.
Canton.
That is right. Poet Percy Bysshe Shelley
St. Martin's, Canton.
Keats.
wrote Ananias and Keats's Memory. The state in which Steinbeck's East of Eden was set
St. Martin's, Canton.
was California. The author of stories about Burr Rabbit, Burr Fox, and Uncle
St.
Remus.
Martin's, Canton.
Uncle Remus's Tales.
No, it's Joel Chandler Harris, the author. The name of the plantation in Gone with the Wind.
St. Martin's, Canton.
Tara.
Tara's correct. The author of The War of the Worlds.
St. Martin's, Canton.
Wells.
Correct. The novel by Fielding made in...
St. Martin's, Canton.
Joseph Andrews.
No, it was Tom Jones, an Academy Award winner. He wrote The Ascent of Man.
St. Martin's, Canton.
Darwin.
No, Jacob Bronowski. What body Woodward and Bernstein's The
St.
Brethren
Martin's,
was
Jonasson.
Post. Washington Post.
No, it was about the Supreme Court. What body? English Prime Minister, and I'm afraid we won't get through to that one. That buzzer ends the first half. It's a close game. And a lot of play left. St. Martin's is leading 125 to 85. We're going to take a breather here, and then we'll be back in just a moment. We're going to talk to the gentlemen on both sides about their reaction to this game, what it's done for them, what it's meant to them, and so forth. Stay tuned.
In another era, he would have worked exclusively for princes and kings. That's the description of woodcarver August Crabtree, who is internationally known for creating a fleet of intricately carved miniature sailing ships, tracing the history of navigation. Excellence Forever puts you right on the deck of some of these ships and right over Crabtree's shoulder as he creates yet another.
See it Monday night at 7:30 on Channel 12.
We'll resume play in the second half in just a few moments. Right now, we're going to talk to the individuals who are participating in this game about their reactions to the game itself, I guess you'd say. Chris, how about you?
Well, it's the competition, the thrill of waiting out front before the taping, and it's my chance to study history and to disregard minor subjects like French and English.
Beautifully put. Barry?
Well, I've had a lot of fun playing this game. It's exciting. I've enjoyed being on television. And I've also gotten to know these three and our alternate, Jill, pretty well. I wouldn't have known them nearly as well otherwise. It's been fun.
Are you glad? You didn't say whether you were glad
Oh, yeah, I'm
about
very glad. Very glad.
Better say that, huh, Hans?
Yeah.
You give them a muscle, huh?
Right. I like to play. It's a lot of fun. I've learned a lot of stuff I wouldn't have learned otherwise. I've gotten to be better friends with everybody on the team. And I think the best thing about it is now my father and I have something else to talk about besides taking out the trash.
Scott?
Well, got me out of some track practice, but, you know, the fame, the travel, and the money is really what it's all about.
Very good, Scott. I like it. Amazing how professional these guys become in a few short weeks. How about you all? Mark?
I enjoy the competition, and it's helped me keep up on current events and other important things that are going around that ordinarily I wouldn't keep up with.
Yeah, that's interesting. It zeroes in on a lot of things that, I guess, add to your knowledge. Mark, what about you? We got two Marks here. Mark, tell us.
I guess overall it's been a good experience, a spirit of competition and good sportsmanship, and the gain knowledge that I wouldn't know otherwise. It's been a lot of fun.
Overall, an enjoyable experience.
Yes.
That's great. Tom?
Well, I've acquired knowledge, as I guess everybody who competes in Quizball has. And it's given me a chance to follow in my brother's footsteps. He's a member of the Michigan State College Quizball team.
I didn't know that. Is that true?
Yes.
Very good. Kevin, what about you?
Other than being a fun game and, you know, a good experience, I've enjoyed the competition, and it's put a sharp edge on my reflexes, too.
It better, huh? You'll meet him in this second half. Coming up, St. Paul. Contrary to what Scott said, we don't really play this for the money of it. Okay, you ready to go, guys? It's a very close game, actually, when you consider how much time we have left. St. Martin's 125, St. Paul's 85, and let's begin now with second half play. We're leading up to a 30-point lanyard. Here's the face-off. For a quick 10 points, what country produces the greatest tonnage of silver every year?
St. Martin's, Canton.
The United States.
No, I'm afraid that's incorrect. St. Paul's, can you take it?
St. Paul's, Lee.
Russia?
No, it's our neighbor to the south, Mexico. Mexico. We have another face-off for a quick 10. Name the great Broadway impresario who gave us Showboat.
St. Paul's, Naraki.
Ziegfeld?
Ziegfeld is correct. Bar Ziegfeld. You picked up 10 points. Narrowed the gap to 30, and we have a 30-point lanyap. This is going to be visual, incidentally. All right, St. Paul's, please direct your attention to the monitors in front of you, and you'll see a photograph of a famous castle. And we'll show it here. There you are. For 10 points, what's the name of this castle? Got 3 questions. What is the name of this castle? It's the Windsor Castle. For another 10 points, who chose the site and built the first castle here? Think back and take an educated guess.
Queen Elizabeth.
No, it actually is before then. William the Conqueror. For a final 10 points, what devoted couple among the monarchs are buried in the little park in which the castle stands? Devoted couple.
William and Mary.
So that's a good guess, doggone. Queen Victoria and Albert, her consort. We have another face-off. We're going for a lanyap at 20. The first ecumenical council of the Christian world was organized at Nicaea in 325 A.D. under the aegis of a newly converted Roman emperor. For 10 points, name him.
St. Martin's, Xander.
Justinian?
No, I'm afraid that's incorrect. St. Paul's, can you take it? It was Constantine. Constantine the Great. Constantine who conquered by the cross, as they say. We have another face-off going for a lanyap at 20. For 10 points, what famous kilt-wearing Scottish Army regiment was so renowned for
St.
fierce
Martin's,
fighting?
Canton.
The Black Watch.
That's correct, the Black Watch. They were nicknamed because of their ferocity. The ladies from hell, because of their ferocity and their kilts. A lanyap at 20. And we have, for 20, or 10 points each, you can't get 20 and 20 to add up to 20, can you? Name the 2 countries who were opponents at the Battle of Culloden, C-U-L-L-O-D-E-N, Culloden, in 1746. Who were the adversaries?
France and England.
No, I'm afraid not. England was one of them. Scotland was the other. I guess we get 10 points for England, however. That adds to the total. St. Martin's, we have a face-off. We're going for a lanyap of 30 points now. Here's a face-off. What is the name of the overture by Rossini that was used as the
St.
theme
Martin's,
song?
Jonas.
William Tell Overture.
William Tell Overture, the theme song for the Long Ranger, right? Your lanyap, 30 points in all, is one of those mystery men questions again. If you can name this famous person after 1 clue, you earn 30 points. If it takes 2 clues, 20 points. If it takes all 3, 10. First clue for 30, and it's a shorty. He was born in 1818 at Contreras, his family's homestead in St. Bernard Parish, Louisiana.
PGT Beauregard.
PGT Beauregard.
That's worth 30 points. Another face-off. We're going for a lanyap at 20 now, teams. Of the following European rivers for 10 points, which is the longest? The Volga.
St. Martin's, Strickler.
Volga.
Volga's right. The other 2 were the Rhine and the Danube. The Volga's by far the longest. Your lanyap's at 20 points. For 10 apiece, name the first and last letters of the Greek alphabet.
Alpha and Omega.
Those are the 2. 20 points. We have another face-off. Going now for a lanyap at 20 points, teams. For a quick 10, what process is considered the essential source of life for all plants and animals?
St. Martin's, Jonathan.
Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis is correct. For 10 points. Never saw a man answer correctly and go into shock, but this just happened. We have a 20-point lanyap there. You've got, okay, this is for 2 answers. An antitrust act in 1890 and another in 1914 outlawed certain monopolistic practices by big business. Now, the latter act, the last one, designed to improve upon the former. It was designed to improve upon the former. For 10 points apiece. Name these 2 antitrust acts.
Delegate to Mr. Zander.
Correctly identifying which was enacted in 1890 and which later.
In 1890, the Sherman Antitrust Act, and in 1914, the
Yes.
The Interstate Commerce Act.
No, it was the Clayton Antitrust Act. You have picked up 10 points, however, St. Martin's. We're going for a lanyap at 20 now. For a quick 10 points, what British Prime Minister first used the term Iron Curtain?
St. Martin's, Canton.
Churchill.
Correct, Winston Churchill. Picked up 10, there's 20-point lanyap, 5 apiece. Answer the following questions about the stock market. First, What is the phrase used to tell how unlisted securities are sold? What's the phrase for this? All right.
Overage.
No, over the counter is the phrase. Secondly, by the phrase blue chip, do we mean a conservative or a speculative stock?
Speculative.
No, it'd be a conservative. The long-standing earners. In a bear market, do stock prices tend to rise or fall?
Fall.
Right. Does selling short mean gambling that a stock will go up or go down? You sell short.
Go down.
You're right. 3 of the 4. No, 2 of the 4. I'm sorry. 10 points. St. Martin. Another face-off. We're going for a landing up to 20 points. In anatomy, there are 3 types of this feature. Gliding, hinge,
St. Paul's and Rocky.
Joint.
Joint's right for 10 points. Gliding, hinge, and ball and socket. 20-point landing-up, St. Paul's for 10 apiece. Tell me correctly the surnames of the 2 warring families in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Capulet.
Capulet.
And Montague.
Montague.
You've got them both for 20 points. We have another face-off going for a landing up at 25 for a quick 10. Who was the woman called Queen of Bohemia and of Hungary and Archduchess of Austria? Marie Antoinette was her daughter. Who was this woman?
St. Martin Strickler.
Anne of Austria.
No, I'm afraid that's incorrect. St. Paul's, can you take it?
St. Paul's and Rocky.
Maria.
Full name.
Maria of Prussia.
No, it's Maria Theresa. It was said almost as 2 names. Or 1 name, I should say. For 10 points, what was the Golden Spike driven?
St.
Where
Martin's
was
Canton.
Promontory Point.
That's correct. In Utah. Lanyap, 25 points. I'll give you 5 for each of the 5 most common gases in the Earth's atmosphere you can correctly name. I'll give you exactly 20 seconds to compile them.
Oxygen.
All right.
Hydrogen. Nitrogen. Argon. Carbon dioxide.
All right, 1 more. What do you
Helium?
5? Wait. Oh. Which one was that? I'm sorry. I was trying to look at the watch and listen to him. Hydrogen, I'm afraid, is not among. Water vapor is the 5th. The other 4 you answered correctly, with the exception, of course, of hydrogen. 20 points, St. Martin. Hard to read a watch that's stopped. We don't rely on that here, by the way. We have others. Another face-off. We're going for a landing up at 25. For 10 points, name the class of fishes with cartilaginous...
St. Paul's and Rocky.
Ichthyosaurus.
No. No, I'm afraid that's incorrect. We'll repeat for St. Martin's. For 10 points, name the class of fishes with cartilaginous skeletons, placoid or placoid scales, and the lack of air bladder.
St. Martin's Canton.
Sharks.
No, this is class, and it's a jawbreaker. But here it is, if I can pronounce it. Elasmobranch. Elasmobranch. I'd move to another class, I think. We have another face-off. We're going for a landing up at 25 for 10 points. Name the man. Recognize the father of public schools in New Orleans.
St. Martin's Canton.
McDonough.
That's right, John McDonough. Miser merchant who left his fortune to the public schools, at least a part of it, a good part of it. Landing up at 25 points. Some authors have pet characters, often autobiographical in origin, whom they carry through more than 1 work. For 5 points each, identify the authors who made use of the following in more than 1 work, the following characters. First, the character is Stephen Dedalus. What author used Stephen?
Doyle?
No, this was James Joyce. We have Gavin Stevens next. Gavin Stevens. Recognize that name?
Scott.
Pops up in a couple of works by William Faulkner. Studs Lonigan.
Farrell.
That's right, basis of his Lonigan trilogy. Colin Clout. Colin Clout.
Welty.
It was Edmund Spencer.
Oh.
And finally, Nick Adams.
Hemingway.
That's right, got 2 of them. 10 points, St. Martin's. Another face-off going for a landing up at 20. President Josip Broz Tito of Yugoslavia, who died this year at the age of 87, had no closer friend and no more formidable foe than a man who has recently published a new book about Tito. For 10 points, name the author of Tito, the Story from Inside. Anyone remember this?
St. Martin's Canton.
Smith.
No. He changed his name. St. Paul's. Anyone? This again, one of those jawbreakers. Milovan Gilis, or DeGilis. We'll go on to another face-off. For a quick 10, who did Dr. Carl Austin Weiss, Jr. assassinate?
St. Martin's Canton.
Huey P. Long.
Correct. Huey Long. Even though there are some who insist that Weiss did not shoot him, that perhaps the bodyguards, Ricochet, ricocheting bullets did. Here's a lanyard 20. An ode originally was a poem written to be sung, but later came to be any lyric poem, usually addressed to a person or a thing, characterized by lofty feeling. For 5 points apiece, name the authors of the following famous odes. Ode on a Grecian urn.
Keats.
Correct. Ode to the West Wind.
Whittier.
No, this was Shelley. Ode to Duty. Who was it? Wordsworth. Ode to a Nightingale.
Shelley.
This was Keats again. Did a lot of those odes. And we had 5 points for St. Martin's. We have another face-off. We're going for Laney up at 20 for 10 points. Name the woman slave of Ali Baba who discovered and killed the 40 thieves hiding in the oil jars.
St. Martin's, Canton.
Mogliani.
No, I'm afraid not. St. Paul's, anyone? There you were close. Morgiana was her name. Morgiana. Another face-off going for Laney up at 20. Fort Massachusetts was a Union stronghold during the Civil War. Confederate troops captured the fort early in the war and partly destroyed it when they evacuated the fort in 1861. Union forces then rebuilt the fort. And, gee, that's a story we may never hear the end of. It was used, incidentally, I don't want to leave you hanging, it was used as a prison till the end of the war, in the Civil War. And we were going to ask, where is it located? It's located in Ship Island, Mississippi. We'll be back in just a moment when we code up and validate the final score right after this.
In July 1918, Russia's last Tsar, Nicholas II, his wife Alexandra, and their 5 children were killed by revolutionaries. Yul Brynner narrates Lost to the Revolution, the work of master jeweler Peter Carl Fabergé, set against the dramatic backdrop of Imperial Russia's final decades.
See it Monday at 9:30 on Channel 12.
Ladies and gentlemen, the final score, and it's been validated. St. Martin's 320, St. Paul's 120. St. Martin's has won, and they will enter the semifinals. Congratulations. Quite a game between 2 outstanding teams. St. Martin's will be playing next week against Jesuit. Newman will be playing against De La Salle. Those are the only 4 teams left. But when it got down to 8, one of those 8 teams was St. Paul's out of a total of 64, and that's an accomplishment too. Listen, I've really enjoyed having you guys down here and playing in this game. You've done so well. St. Paul's, how many are coming back next year? Are you all graduating? Oh, look out for the future. St. Paul's will be heard from. We want to mention before we leave that Pan American Life Insurance, which has been mainly responsible for sustaining this show by underwriting the program, is throwing a tremendous banquet next Thursday noon for over 500 people, including every person that participated this year. Thank you, Pan Am. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week for the semifinals.
The questions on Varsity Quiz Ball are prepared and authenticated by the WIS editorial research staff and known only in advance to the quizmaster, producer, judge, and researcher. All 64 schools participating in our year-long tournament are matched by blind draw. Selections of team members and methods of preparation are the sole responsibility of the schools and their coaches. The preceding program was made possible in part by a grant from Pan American Life Insurance Company.